Good evening, and thank you all for joining us this evening. I'm Catherine Vokins, founder and executive director. Many of you know that for the past 25 years, Rehabilitation Through the Arts has led a creative arts program that helps our members continue to improve their skills so that they can be successful both inside and outside prison walls. We know our program works because RTA alumni return to prison less than 5%, while the nationwide average is 60% or better. In a typical year, it would be a real highlight for me to welcome many of you to in-prison performances. But alas, tonight, it is bittersweet to be talking to you from a computer screen. Despite the challenges of the year, I am overwhelmed with pride when reflecting back on how the RTA community of members, teaching artists, board, alumni, and staff have all pulled together to keep our work alive through creative distance learning and alumni engagement. In that spirit, it is a joy to present Lulu, I Hear You, a piece based on the stories and poetry of our members during the COVID crisis. I hope you'll stay on after the performance and listen in on a conversation where you can be engaged with RTA members who have lived through and returned home during the COVID time. We are grateful to all of our supporters, but especially to the Art for Justice Fund, whose generous grant initiated this project, to Arts Westchester, the Westchester County government for their support, and to Rattlestick Playwrights Theater for their partnership. We're also deeply appreciative to the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision, without whose support our long-distance learning activities could not continue, and whose collaboration over these past 24 years has really helped bring positive programming inside New York State prisons. Tonight could not have happened without the extraordinary production team, with our wonderful and talented alumni and teaching artists, all skillfully collaborating to honor those members still left inside the walls. Tonight, I'm very happy to present Lulu, I Hear You.
I got sick around the middle of April, right at the height of the pandemic. They sent me to the infirmary and put me in a 4-man room with a bunch of other guys who were also sick. All tested positive for COVID-19. And although I was showing symptoms, body aches, chills, high fever, I tested negative, but because I was in a room with other people who were infected with COVID-19, I had to be put in quarantine. And for my birthday, I had to spend it in a solitary confinement setting.
I left my job at the law library and as an HIV, STD, HVC facilitator in early March to work with a facility maintenance crew that was put together to fight the spread of this virus.
Well, I was one of those who had an encounter with Mr. COVID. Yes, I survived, unlike some of my fellows who didn't, that passed away.
Basically, I deliver gallons of bleach 2 times a day to all the housing facilities. And I disinfect areas of high traffic. I love it, because it helps keep us safer. And our elders with compromised immune systems.
Lulu, I hear you. I hear you coming down the hall. You walk a little funny-like, and you kick your little legs out a little bit. I can hear you coming. Right before you get to my cell, Lulu, you slow down. You know, if you slow down right before you get to my cell, quiet-like you do, you know that me and Vanessa will hear you. Vanessa will say,
Lulu, did you eat?
And you'll say,
Yeah.
She's not convinced, not satisfied. Your tone was,
Meh.
Well, here, have this.
Man, she loved you, always looking out for you. Vanessa said your name all day long. I was across from her, so it was
Lulu, Lulu, Lulu.
all day long.
Peace. By now, we all are immersed in a world shaken up by COVID-19 and its collateral damage. Our daily lives have been Rubik cubed, and we just have to adapt to survive with optimism of living when a revised version of normalcy is reestablished.
The most positive thing in my life right now is my mindset. I am willing to stay free from negative thinking and bettering myself no matter what the circumstances may be at the moment.
It has been extremely difficult to accept the fact that as a human being, I am an afterthought in a public health crisis.
I'm maintaining my sanity while cohabiting spaces with people that are visibly sick and some who are probably asymptomatic.
COVID-19 continues the task of reshaping our lives. The timing of this virus created the perfect storm for many of us to address many unresolved issues. Whether in prison, at home, or in society, no one has a definite solution as to how we'll move forward as a whole.
I will tell you one thing. I felt like Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris jumped me. I have never felt in my life what I felt. I was speaking to my father. My father's been dead 22 years. This thing was so rough that I was begging for the days to go fast. Now I see why so many people with health conditions have passed away. This thing is like a demolition man inside of you, running through your body, hitting you all over. I had a 103 temperature.
Lulu, are those your feet coming this way? 'Cause I can hear you creeping. If it's flip-flops.
It's a shower.
If it's sneakers.
It's the yard.
One foot sounds heavier than the other foot. Yeah, that's you. I'm sure of it. I can't see you, but I can hear you. And if you go really, really slow, which is what you do when you're telling me with no words.
Sam, give me something sweet.
Sometimes I could grab it quick enough, grab it from my locker before you would actually get to me. The speed of your steps was the request. Never really did your words do the asking. I could hear that little crinkle you would make. You were...
Just making sure the sweet was there.
I don't know why, but that made me smile. Right in your hand. I always listen for the little crinkle.
Basically, anyone who tested positive for COVID-19 or anyone who interacted with them had to be put into quarantine for at least a week before they could go back to their unit. Quarantine is an abbreviated version of solitary confinement. Still is. Locked up for at least 22 hours a day.
This facility was more proactive than others, so the confirmed numbers were not as bad as they could have been. We saw our brethren get sick, and even some died.
In no way do I feel good, or even normal for that matter, about the absence of control over my own life.
There's nothing so depressing than watching another man die in prison, even if it's only a day. Every incarcerated man or woman would rather take their final breath as a free man than in a cell or a hospital bed.
I went through 24 t-shirts in 3 days and I only have 14. So you go figure that out.
Since being incarcerated, I have seen and heard so much bullshit that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. In a way, it's like school. Some things you can't learn until you experience them.
This CO just woke me up. Was having a beautiful dream about two females out in society. We were having a really good time. They were celebrating my release back into society when I hear someone screaming.
On the count! On the count! Everyone standing so I can see you.
Would you shut up? It's too early in the morning for this.
Everyone on the count!
Pfft, gotta be kidding me. Talk about being frustrated. Shit. I was really enjoying being with them two females out in society. They were so beautiful, wearing a catnip bodysuit. Ever imagine having a good time and suddenly you wake up and realize a long, hard day had gone by? To realize it was all a dream? For a minute, I said to myself, this CO has got to be a comedian, waking me up for the count. I was about to have a great time with these two beautiful women when I hear,
on the count.
What a comedian.
I am just working hard, keeping my spirits, and trying to pass my good energy to those around me as well that need it. This is not easy, especially with the cancellation of visits, family reunion program, and other activities. As crazy as it might sound, now it feels like real jail. You look forward to escaping the environment through RTA 3 to 5 days a week, depending on your schedule. You also look forward to seeing your loved ones too. All that is out the window.
Every day, I witness the effects of our complete change of circumstances with the men around me who are constantly struggling to make sense of their own worlds. It's a painful sight to witness another human being's mental health deteriorate irreversibly without help or support to make a difference.
The July humidity sits on everything in my cage, including my chest, gluing me to the mattress. My head swivels toward the makeshift calendar hanging from the gray locker jutting out of the wall. The square grids, marked out by strong black diagonal lines, stop in mid-April, freezing time a month into the pandemic. Schlap. A thick envelope is slapped on my gate. Out of my throat croaks.
What day is it?
The question somehow makes its way through the oppressive ambience to my neighbor's cage.
Wednesday, last I checked, July 8th, 2020. You know the day after Tuesday, July 7th, 2020? Man, you got the pandemic head. You gotta keep sharp.
The words shocked my eyes wide open. Since the lockdown began, there's been no programs, no reason to interact or challenge myself.
The 8th of July? How long have I been lying here?
Good news?
Maybe. Something from rehabilitation through the arts. Probably another check-in.
My index finger tears into the thick envelope and races up the crevice of the envelope. 2 clear cassettes are nestling inside.
Are you serious?
I take out the accompanying papers from the envelope, hoping I won't need the cassettes. No dice.
Damn it! 7 months since I got rid of the Walkman.
Terrence's voice, roughened by over 30 years of incarceration, finds its way into my cage.
You gonna leave me hanging all night?
It looks like some sort of writing workshop. Something about a hero character.
Oh, shit. Like the Black Panther? Man, that shit is lit.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yo, why you saying like that? What's wrong? Why aren't you excited?
A, I'm not a creator. And B, I don't have a cassette player.
The silence sits between our cages, caught by the voices around us.
You know you can do this, right? I read some of your poetry, and you do a great job communicating ideas that way. Maybe you could write it as a poem. Or you could start with a poem and then make it a prosy. Like Dante. And I'm pretty sure I can get the 411 on a cassette player. So that's A, no problem, and B, no problem.
I hear Terrence opening a bag of potato chips. The rustling of the bag blends into his deep vibrato.
Yeah? Well, I guess I'm all out of excuses.
Besides, are you going to do the time or let the time do you? Be your own hero.
Fuck it. I got this. I have to do this. I have to clear my head. I need to focus. I didn't even think it was July.
I took out the paper.
Me, a hero.
I said under my breath.
So, where's the cassette player?
Dum Dum got one.
Sir L, my other neighbor, pipes up.
Yo, Sir L, what'd I tell you about tapping the lines?
We are all on the same team, okay?
Sir L's question opens a void. Sir L has a long-standing debt with Terrence.
Yeah, I guess so.
Terrence seems to be chewing his words.
So I'll get Dum Dum's Walkman. Yo, Dum Dum, I need your Walkman.
Sir L's voice booms throughout the block.
L, stop calling me like that. I told you about putting my business on the gate.
Sorry, but it's important.
Quiet desperation colors Sir L's voice. Maybe he thinks he can set things right with Terrence.
It's an emergency. My neighbor is creating a hero.
It's not really an emergency.
You mean like the Black Panther?
How the fuck would I know? I'm coming down.
Sir L snakes a white net bag to the floor outside his cage's gray gate. A line made out of an old sheet coils its way on top of the net bag. Sir L's hand emerges over the gate with the end of the line tied to a bar of white state-issued soap. The words Corecraft are engraved on one side. The bar blurs as it spins around. Sorrel's wrist bends down and then jerks up, building momentum into the centrifugal motion. Sorrel's fingers let go and the bar pops up and hits the top of the walkway's tier.
Damn, I got this.
Sorrel draws up the line to get the bar of soap and begins the process all over again.
You can do it!
Asshole.
The bar of soap flies past the cages on the company.
Got it!
I put my mirror on the gate and see other mirrors are out. Dum-Dum's hands drawing the line, hand over fist, causing the net bag to shimmy back and forth down the company. The taut line eventually disappears, followed by the net bag into Dum-Dum's cage. The mirrors stay out. Are they waiting for the Walkman? I tap the wall between mine and Sorrel's cage. I try to whisper the words around the thin wall separating us.
You better snatch that line when he pulls it. Everybody's looking.
The bar of soap slides past my cell. The soap is jostled before it whips past my cage. Sorrel grabs the line and starts pulling with everything he's got. The taut line seems to go on forever before the appearance of the net bag makes its appearance outside of Dum-Dum's cage and onto the company's narrow walkway. I mutter under my breath like a mantra. Go, go, go! The net bag slows once. The mirror in front of that cage dips in while another hand slips through the bars towards the bag. The bag scurries by, slightly snagging on the fingertip. The net bag whips into Sorrel's cage, and he yells down the company to let Dum-Dum know he received the contents of the bag.
Touchdown!
I will always associate you with the smell of undiluted germicide, a cleaning product you always had in your hand, your rag, and the chemical dark green, like our uniforms. I like the smell of it. Strong and clean. It could make a person a little high if you got a good whiff of it. And when you came around, those dummies had better quick scatter, cuz
I'm trying to clean.
Most of all, I loved your raspy voice.
So hoarse.
Kinda low, but authoritative too. You didn't have to say much to be heard. You could just yell and yell at those COs. And well?
That's Lulu.
Whatever those young whippersnapper COs were about to say, you had no time for them, and you sure told them so, without speaking. Just an eye roll, a grumble, and...
Leave me alone.
Body language. I would look over your shoulder and see the curve of their smiles while you would shake your head in disdain at them.
Damn fools.
I think they liked you scowling at them. They must have known they deserved it. They let you get away with being real sassy. Number one,
out of respect.
And number two, you were hilarious. You could always count on me, Lulu. Be it a peppermint or a bear claw, a bag of shebang chips, a ramen noodle soup, or a fat girl cake.
I know you got something.
I did. I always did.
I wait, watching the shadows grow across the floor and inch up the wall. Scratches are visible underneath the paint. Instead of days marked off, names, gangs, and geography are chiseled into the walls that have stood for over a century. A white net bag flaps at the gate. I jump up and grab the bag, pulling it into my cage. The bag feels light. Inside is a note.
Hey, I know you need this cassette. I need to get paid for putting all this together. Send over 2 bricks, and I'll send over the tape player.
Are you serious? I didn't ask for the Walkman.
I try to push the net bag back into Sorrel's cage, but every thrust is resisted, resulting in the bag looking like a sad balloon.
L, what the fuck are you doing?
Dum-Dum, he got it.
No. I don't have anything.
Don't be playing with me. I need that Walkman. L, you know I didn't get a tablet because I didn't want the government all up in my business. What's he saying, L?
Dum-Dum's voice echoes anger.
Yo, Dum-Dum, I don't have a clue. I just handed him the tape player, and now he's saying this stupid shit. You know what I gotta do. You got me on those 3 bricks to make it happen? This motherfucker thinks this shit is a joke. He's about to find out.
Run that shit.
I look at the gate, then through it. Over time, the windows have grown dimmer as panes are replaced with frosted plexiglass. Some windows are open the full 45 degrees, while others are stuck closed. The windows are a mirage that air passes through them. No air is moving. Everything is dead. I look at my pens. A long time ago, a guy told me to always carry a pen because it was like having a legal weapon. His advice seemed simple back then, but now I had so much to lose. My family, parole, the box, or worse, my life flashed through my mind's eye.
Why are you doing this?
Confusion colored my words.
I could ask you the same thing. How you gonna take that man's property like that?
Sorrel is hyping himself up. If I put a mirror out and look into his cage, I expect him to be listening to a DMX tape trying to get his energy up before he attacks me. A tapping sound on my wall lets me know Terrence is calling me. I step up to the gate.
Don't worry. I got this.
I sigh as my eyes well up.
No, T. I don't bring problems to my friends. I guess it's true that prisons are the new mental hospitals.
The gates pop open. My hand strangles the pen.
I don't want to die like this.
I do not want to die like this.
T is out on the company and in Sorrel's cage before I can take a step towards the gate. The wall between my cage and Sorrel's ring out as bodies collide. The sound of Sorrel's cage slamming shut thunder down the company. People run down the company. The crowd grows, clogging up the narrow walkway in front of our cages. The wall between our cells communicates each blow with thuds. My stomach is an anxious mix of disbelief and sadness. The crowd grows with every thud. At one point, the crowd let out a collective ooh. A silence falls across the crowd. Everyone starts chanting.
KO, 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 KO.
T flashes the Walkman.
Yo, dum-dum, you looking for this?
Everyone on the company had heard the back and forth and now saw the truth for themselves. T taps the Walkman on the bars of my cage.
He's good, dum-dum?
Just returned in a couple of days.
Dum Dum is smiling ear to ear over the adrenaline of watching the fight.
I don't want this shit.
Well, you got it now.
T's last words haunt my cage as I sit silently between two empty cages, holding the cassette player.
I'm never going home. And I know you can do something powerful. Be the hero, man. I wasn't playing when I said it earlier.
The words float in the air, sparkling, waiting for me to take them in. I inhale them. A frosty, tingling feeling shoots across my face, down my throat and into my hands. The sensation, like a shot of lightning, flashes down my spine and legs into the floor.
I am not what this place says I am. Maybe I am the hero of my own life.
I push play on the Walkman.
Hi, my name is Kate, and I'll be leading you through the Hero's Journey workshop.
Ain't nobody gonna argue with Lulu. I loved it when you would yell at them. The people who weren't paying attention to your cleaning, I loved the anticipation of you hollering at those new to the unit dummies, because it always came like clockwork, right before the 1 o'clock movement. And us who knew better loved watching the unsuspecting victims.
They had better move.
One sideways look from you? Oh, they moved, Lulu.
They sure did.
Ooh!
A week later, the gate to the cage of where T was housed pops open. T's raspy tremolo fills my cage like it had never left.
How are you here?
The ticket was not written correctly and was thrown out. So you gonna keep me waiting?
Huh?
The story, numbnuts.
Oh, yeah. I just finished the first draft.
I thread the pages through the bars. The humidity is damp as ever. I noticed the date of July 15th. The strong slashes of diagonals filled all the boxes prior to the 15th on the calendar.
Hey, T, when I finish the story, maybe I could take you through the stages of the hero's journey. It helps the time go by.
I wait while I sit on my bed looking at the notes I've written. I add,
You can be the hero, T.
Nah. The hero's the guy that's too stupid to stay alive.
I really want to thank each and every one of you for skills, memories, and the safe space you've given me in the most unlikely of places. I was able to find good people in a bad environment. Thank you for giving me a place to just be Dustin again.
Please inform my teachers that I am practicing every day, and I have already mastered the 2 songs you provided.
In Sharon's class, I gave a speech from the perspective of the mother of the young lady whose life I took. She gave a presentation to the parole board, which I heard through the paper was opposing my release. The speech I gave was a guess at what she might have said. It was powerful, standing there in her shoes, metaphorically speaking. And when I read Sharon's evaluation later that night,
I don't agree with that woman.
I instantly burst into tears of gratitude. And a chunk of the rock that protected my heart fell away.
I'm keeping my fingers moving. I often hear my teacher's voice correcting my finger placement and encouraging me along.
RTA's interest in knowing how I'm doing really means a lot during these hard times. I've lost my mother to COVID-19, and in a way I'm numb. Not because I want to, but I have to, because to express my hurt with these fellas in here, I feel will only make me looked on as weak.
I do miss the workshops, especially since that's where I could show my true self.
My mom was my everything, so I thank RTA for reaching out. Sometimes all one wants is to be heard.
My self-criticism discourages me from pursuing a deeper understanding of the act of writing. I often have ideas that I would like to write down, but refrain, because I don't feel as though those ideas are important or potent. This project, however, presents a validity to those ideas that I did not recognize before.
In spite of the overall stress this abnormal environment produces, I challenge myself every day to do something productive in order to keep my sanity in check.
I'm reminding myself to focus on what really matters. Take one step at a time, because the uncertainty of tomorrow's experiences is even stronger now.
The journal you've given me has energized me amidst a stagnation outbreak.
Despite that, the guys in our unit did a great job keeping the peace and keeping our spirits up. And thanks to guys like Tim and Freddie, they fostered a helpful environment on our gallery.
I'm waiting for the day when we're all back performing, or better yet, expressing the things that we've learned through these trying times.
When I got sick, Alf and my brother Wise made sure I had something to eat every day. And for my birthday, Alf made me some cheesecake and cherry pies. Oh, that's whipped cream cheese in sugar and sweet milk, and cherry filling wrapped in tortillas. Delicious.
Delicious! Finally, as my own mind wanders on the brink, I keep the people who love me most on the forefront of my mind. This entire situation has not been easy on anyone, no matter what side of the wall we are on. And I'd be lying if I didn't admit that the extra services provided have been just enough to keep the phantoms at bay.
Prisons are an extension of society. While the men and women have committed acts against the whole of society, that does not mean they lose their status as humans. Everything that people have had to endure during the pandemic in the general population has made it over the walls and impacted the men and women who are incarcerated. We're all in this together.
Lulu, you won't be coming down the corridor no more. There's an empty cell at the end of the hallway. I know that they will wait some time to fill it. At least a week or two. I hope for that anyway. For the girls to heal and to have a little time to get used to that kind of quiet. There will be a silent refusal to fill your cell. The officers will do count. They'll look in Lulu's cell. You will not be there. It'll be a green mat mattress and no bedding. There won't be any crinkling today up and down the corridor. They all will say,
well, Lulu got all the sweets she want now.
She got all the damn sweets she wants.
That's right, Lulu.
And Shaniqua will say,
I'm gonna miss Lulu's crazy ass.
They will say,
me too.
And your best friend, Miss Smalls, will say,
it's just not right not to see her coming down the hall.
And people will be quiet out of respect for you and Miss Small's friendship. Nobody's gonna clean those tables at 12:52 p.m. either. You can be sure of that. But Lulu, your God saw fit to get you out of that hellhole. And I don't know what kind of cleaning the real angels do, but I'm for certain that you're disinfecting from above, because that would be your kinds of heaven, where the brooms are always new and there are enough paper towels at all times. You're in a place now where you will never have to crinkle in secret. But hey, Lulu, I liked having that secret with you.
Good evening. My name is Charles Moore, and I am Director of Operations for Rehabilitation Through the Arts, and I'm also an alumni. Thank you for watching Lulu, I Hear You, and for staying on with us for this conversation with our alumni about their experiences with COVID-19 while on the inside. The performance is dedicated to all our brothers and sisters still incarcerated during this pandemic, and especially to the memory of our friend and sister, Darlene Benson-Seay, Lulu, who passed away from COVID-19 while serving time at Bedford Hills Correctional Facility. Our condolences go out to her family, who was in the audience this evening. As we know, the COVID-19 pandemic has had a devastating effect on our society, and even more so for our incarcerated community. To date, we have lost 286,000 lives to this virus in the United States. Sadly, incarcerated people are infected by coronavirus at a rate more than 5 times higher than the nation's overall average. 5 times. You have just heard a snapshot of the messages we have received from our RTA participants on the inside. Now, we are joined by 3 RTA alumni who were incarcerated during the start of this COVID-19 pandemic. Before I introduce our panelists, I want to remind our audience that the chat box is still open for questions. I will ask a few questions to get the conversation started, but I invite you to please add your questions in the chat box as we go on. Now, without further ado, our panelists. Please help me welcome Omar Williams, John Zaccoli, and Dustin Hale. Hey, guys. First of all, welcome home to all of you. Again, please tell us who you are. Please tell us who's who and how long you've been home and your involvement in RTA. Omar, why don't you start?
Well, yes, I've been home about 3 months now. I go by Sweets. I was incarcerated about 22 years, a little less. And what was the other part of your question?
What roles have you participated in, and what workshops have you done while you're in RTA?
I pretty much completed all the workshops that was available. My first play was Superior Donuts. That was in 2007. And I've been in every place since then except for one. Nothing else, Mice to Men. I had a good time, good journey, learned a lot, real fun. And it was beneficial, made me a better person. The workshops really carried me a long way too, especially the writing workshops. They did more for me than RTA. They made me express myself in a way that I couldn't do it verbally. So overall, it was a great experience.
Great. Dustin?
Hi, Dustin. I got home August 6th of this year, and I was a visual artist for RTA. I was in both our drawing workshops, the color theory workshop. I even did the public speaking.
Great. And John Zaccoli.
Hi, I'm John Zaccoli. I was released June 4th, so it's been 5 months and 4 days, I think. RTA has been a part of my life for a number of years. I participate both in the theater program and in the visual arts, as well as the numerous workshops that come along, either helping out or participating in them directly.
Yes, you are.
RTA has been a transformative force in my life.
Thank you, John. You guys doing all right as a whole?
Yeah, great. Good to be here.
Great. Yeah. Okay, so my first question, what did you think of the performance, Omar?
I enjoyed it. It brought back a lot of memories, things I've forgotten about, especially hearing some of CO's reenactments, some of the guy's sincerity. You know, it's a painful thing to remember, but it's beneficial. And I think it helped a lot of people in a lot of ways that they don't know. They probably don't know yet, but after going through all this and hearing our stories, it may affect you in some type of way.
Good, thanks. John?
Performance was very powerful. There were spots where like floods of emotion rushed through me, and I kind of struggled to hold back tears because I could relate so much to what was going on and the feelings. And I'm elated to be free, but sometimes there's a sense of maybe survivor's guilt is a term for it, but I know that there's a lot of my brothers still suffering in there, and my heart goes out to them because they're still going through it. But it was nice. It was a great performance, very emotional, well thought out.
Dustin?
I agree. I thought it was a very powerful performance to see guys who I was in there with acting as if they were still in there and dealing with problems that are frequent in jail. I thought it was very moving.
Thank you, guys. And we're happy to say that the actors in the performance were our very own alumni and our teaching artists. So the emotion was definitely there. Speaking of emotions, I understand that all three of you had a little visit from COVID while you were on the inside. Is that true, John?
Yes, that's true.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
So in the latter part of March, I started to feel a little under the weather, which normally isn't the case for me. Normally I'll never get sick, or maybe it's a day. This was a little different, you know, and there was no test yet available to us. And they were just beginning to quarantine different cell blocks, but I had all of but one of the symptoms. So it was clear to me, you know, I had contracted this. So I kind of just self-isolated and did my best to get back to health. And after about 6 days, I was back to, you know, 90% or so. But I'm a healthy individual. So for something to kind of knock me down like that, it's a pretty powerful illness. And I feel for people who may have pre-existing conditions and, you know, get a visit by Mr. COVID.
Dustin?
Yeah, I can relate to what John was saying because I was in the same unit as him, right across the hall. The same time where he was feeling ill, I also was showing symptoms. And the teller for me was when I had no appetite because I'm always hungry, and it really messed up the routine of everything's shut down. So I'm going to get up, spend all day in my cell block. I'm going to get stuff done. I'm going to draw, work on schoolwork. I'd get up in the morning and want to go right back to sleep.
Omar?
Well, it was amazing to me because I've always been the type of guy that, never got high, never drank, never smoked. So I always thought I was pretty immune to that fact, and I like bragging about that. I'm pretty immune to things like that. So when I did get the symptoms of I couldn't smell, I couldn't taste, it was almost embarrassing. It was like AIDS when it first came out. It was a shameful thing to have. So you didn't really want to tell anybody because you didn't want to be isolated or looked down upon. So I kept it to myself until everyone else started showing the same signs. And I said, the hell with it. We all got it. Now we're equal now. So that's what it was. We all got quarantined and we dealt with it. It's a scary feeling because the only thing you think of is death. When you're seeing the numbers grow, so the margin of growth such at a high rate, the only thing you can think of is death. And prison might be in vain. Life might be in vain if you die without nothing, for nothing.
Wow. We're so glad that you guys survived. As we have learned, this virus does not discriminate against anyone. So, Dustin, your message to RTA was part of the Lulu script. How did you think it was portrayed?
I think he did a really good job. When I made my parole board, I made a card and wrote a letter to the RTA volunteers and staff, thanking them for everything they've done for me. And I was just so grateful and all the ways that they've helped me prepare for the board and just with life in general. And I think he did a really good job of showing that gratitude.
Okay, that was teaching artist Vinny Moretz who portrayed your message. As you guys can see, wearing a face mask is part of the new norm for now. What was it like wearing a face mask in prison for the first time? Let's see, John, why don't you take that?
So being told I have to wear a face mask in prison was kind of an absurd thing because you're not allowed to cover your face whatsoever.
Right.
So having to do it and it being implemented as a rule was kind of a strange thing. And it made me realize how much I pick up on the body language of someone's face. When you can't see that, to me, it hides a part of humanity. Like I long to see people's smiles and their interactions, and everyone is, like this now. So I can't wait so we can get through this, so we can go back to the new normal.
Yeah. Omar, what about you in face mask on the inside?
Well, initially, I didn't believe in the face mask because they started out by telling us to put a scarf on our face or a shirt, something on our face. So I thought it was just a gimmick, but after a while, I started seeing the police come in with the mask on and seeing the severity of it. It made me appreciate it. Even on the phone, you had to wear a mask, that was a hardship on us, but it was important to do. And we gradually adapted to it. And I think it was successful to a point.
Dustin, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I wanted to say how interesting it was to see it become a part of the normal. Like when it first happened, guys would come back to the unit. Oh, can you believe they didn't let me go to commissary because I didn't have a mask? And now you see someone in the store without a mask and you're like, what is wrong with that person? Do they not know it's 2020?
Yeah, it's a serious thing. Brandon, do we have any questions from the audience?
We do.
What do you got?
First question. There is discussion on the outside about which priority groups should be first in line for the COVID-19 vaccine. And many are pushing to say that incarcerated people should be among the first. Is there concern among people on the inside about getting the vaccine?
Thank you, Brandon. So guys, what are your thoughts about the vaccine being administered on the inside? Omar, why don't you start?
Well, if it was my choice, I wouldn't prefer to be the first one with it. I think the most needed should be the ones to get it, wherever they're at. Preferably the older people out there, I would choose them. But if you had to be the population in prison, I would choose the elderly people first and the people in the hospital, hospice especially. I would vote for them to be first, and then as it gradually everyone else.
Great. Dustin?
I agree with what Omar was saying, but if I was in there and they had just come out with a COVID vaccine and say everyone in prison has to get it, I know people would be suspicious about that. Like, what? We're the test group?
Yep. And John?
Yeah, I echo what Dustin just said. However, there is a large at-risk population in the prison, and being the close confines of everyone and the different interaction with the staff that comes in and out, it may be a good spot because to make it available for them. I wouldn't say first, maybe to the people who are already sick or the elderly, but for the general population, tend to be a pretty virile group in prison. So I don't know if it's necessary that they be first, but for some people who have compromised systems or elderly, it should be available to them.
Thanks, guys. So one of our alumni, Lawrence Bartley, wrote a profound article titled "How 27 Years of Incarceration Prepared Him to Deal with COVID-19." I sent that article to you guys earlier. What are your feelings about that article, and how do you feel now that you have come home? Do you feel that your time in prison prepared you in any way to deal with what society is going through with this COVID-19 pandemic? John, you're there, so why don't you start us off?
So I know Lawrence Barkley. He's an alumni, and I've always respected his writing. He's a profound writer, and I could really relate to the piece. The way he wrote it resonated with me, and the main thing that sticks out was, if you survive incarceration, for me 25, for him 27, it teaches you how to adapt and thrive, right? You find ways to make do. So the small things that get people really spun in this outside world, which is new to me, don't seem like that big of a deal. Like, oh, rush for toilet paper, he was mentioning, and it's like, all right, well, we can make do. There's always a way to make do. We can find a way through this, as long as the minimal needs are met. It's not that bad. We're gonna make it through. Just take a deep breath. We're gonna make it through this. So I think that going through those experiences where it seems like the world's falling apart and you realize that you're stronger than you ever knew you were, incarceration teaches you that. So maybe that's what people are learning right now.
Yeah. What about you, Dustin?
I can very much identify with his article. I really liked it, especially the part about how being in prison teaches you to adapt, because, like, when the whole masks started coming out, it wasn't some crazy thought. It was just something you put on your little locker next to your ID that you had to grab in the morning. And that was just it. And being incarcerated made me comfortable, makes everyone comfortable with being alone. And I think that's prepared us for the quarantine better than some other people might be.
Your thoughts, Omar?
Well, first, let me say it's a pleasure to call Bartley my friend. He's a friend and a good guy, and I appreciate his story. But, besides prison, life has always been adaptation for me, from apartment to apartment, room to room, house to house, town to town, state to state. So prison just another aspect of that. Prison, you just learn to be a little more sly, a little more clever. You could light tissue with a lighter, burnt out lighter. You could make a line and fish. So everything was about adaptation and growing and making it happen. So this was nothing new, just another way to do it, and just another tool for our history. That's all.
Okay, great. Brandon, do we have another question from the audience?
We do.
Okay.
This is for all the panelists. Were COVID tests ever made available in the time before you went home? It sounds like you all knew you had it without a test, which makes me wonder just how many incarcerated individuals have had the virus. Probably a much greater number than is being reported.
Dustin, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, I definitely think that there's a large number of people incarcerated who had it, who weren't tested for it because they only became available. They became available to the public faster than they were available to us. And then it took a little bit, and then we got it. And then by then, we were already over it. So.
Okay, so testing was provided eventually.
Yes, eventually.
Great. John, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, this pandemic caught us by surprise, especially in New York, because it was one of the first ones, and we were all in the same facility, and this disease came in and washed over the facility like a flood. And I believe everyone who could be infected was infected because it was triage. It was thinking on the fly, and there was no way to really prevent it from doing what it was designed to do. You know, diseases are designed by nature. Their objective is to infect people and reproduce, and that's exactly what it did. I don't know if a test would have made anything really different. It would have been nice to know for certain, but I mean, it's nearly a year. We're still learning about what this disease actually is, and if you can get it twice, or if you develop antibodies. There's no clear answers yet. So, you know, it would have been nice to know for certain, but it wasn't available at the time.
Great. What was social distancing like on the inside? Omar?
Well, almost impossible. In a medium, almost impossible, because you have to deal with people. You have to get your food. You have to get your mail. What little mail they did give out. You had to get your packages. So in some way or form, you had to deal with outsiders and things you wouldn't normally deal with. The thing sad about COVID, that just as many officers that was wearing the mask, it was just that many not wearing the mask. So it almost was a moot point. So the thing was mostly about self-survival. You know what I mean? Because like I said, it's not expressed enough how many people are not taking it serious inside.
Yeah.
Mostly the officers. You know, and they had a rumor at one time that blacks couldn't get it. And so that made us it makes us slack up a little bit until we found out that was a rumor and that was false. We got about far number than anybody else. So that was another encouraging part for us to make us want to, you know, be safe and stay right.
Okay. Social distance, Dustin?
You don't social distance in prison because they're designed to fit as many people into as close space as possible. And you can try to stay away from people, but you can only do so much.
Yeah, okay. I want to be mindful of time of our audience and of you guys. We're at 6:56. Brandon, can we take a last question from the audience?
Yes. Let's see. Can you share your thoughts and feelings on not being able to have visits? Did it change people's behavior? If so, how?
When visits were stopped, the ultimate visit stop. John, why don't you start that?
So that not being able to receive visits was a big deal to me, especially because my release date was getting closer and closer as the pandemic got worse and worse. So there was so much uncertainty and not being able to. Visits are kind of like an escape for us when we're incarcerated. It's a way to kind of not feel like you're in prison when you're in prison, and you get to, you know, experience that special time with your family. There's nothing like it. To have that taken away, albeit for good reason, that was a tough thing to deal with, because the isolation that you're already experiencing was heightened, and then you're further isolated by no more outside programs or volunteer guests coming in, and then you couldn't leave your unit, and you couldn't have, you know, access to anything other than the people you were surrounded with every day. So that was difficult, but it was necessary.
Dustin?
was definitely necessary. And I saw when I was in there, when the visits stopped, guys a lot more depressed because they have this problem, COVID in prison, and they can't bring it to their families. They can't bring it to their loved ones. They had to look at it for themselves in their cell. I can't see my family now. And they were more alone than they had ever felt. It was a really tough time.
Omar?
Well, it definitely was a lot of tension. Not on my part. Like I said, me and my wife, it came to a universal decision that whether going to do the visit. I think it's a selfish act to put my children and family at risk, for something that I know exists inside the prison walls that I have no control over. So why bring more of a risk to my family or friends, just for 2 hours or 3 hours of some communication, which the tablet served the same purpose. So the tablet served a good time for us, and it did a great job for us. So I was okay with it.
Great. Omar, John, Dustin, welcome home. I can't thank you guys enough for joining us and giving us your time and sharing of your experience tonight. You guys be well, be safe, and keep your mask on.
Thank you. We love you, baby.
Yes.
Wash your hands.
RTA is grateful to all of you for watching. It reminds us of our brothers on the inside that they're not forgotten by any of us. Now more than ever, RTA needs your support to press forward to continue finding creative ways to provide distance learning to our members to keep them with hope alive. Please consider donating to support our distant learning initiative. RTA has not let this pandemic stop us from providing programming to our participants on the inside. Please click the link in the comment box or text the code YAY RTA to 44321 to make a contribution. No gift is too small. When you visit our donation page, you'll see several ways to support our distant learning efforts, from a $50 donation to cover prepaid emails to our members, to a $5,000 donation to cover a full month of DVD lessons in all of our facilities. We'll leave the donation information up for a few minutes. Feel free to ask any questions in the chat box that you do. Thank you again, and a special thanks to Brandon and Jackie for coordinating this evening. Until next time, family, good night.